following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Good morning. How y'all doing? We're going to talk NFL football playoffs today. We're going to talk what happened last week in the playoffs. We're going to talk about what's going to come up this week. We're also going to talk about the Hall of Fame stuff. The Baseball Hall of Fame was just voted, I want to say yesterday or 2 days ago. You'll have to forgive me. But Scott Rowland was the only one that made it. Andrew Jones is still being kept out of Cooperstown. We're going to talk about that. But let's get on into the show. Thanks for showing up. I know I'm about 45 seconds too late. It's a little bit early in the morning for me. We've got some kind of weird thing on my, there we go. Now, like I said, the first thing I wanted to talk about was last week's playoffs. And first, what I want to start out with is the Bills absolutely, they messed me up. I could have made a few doll hairs last week if the Bills would have scored at least 21 points, but they didn't. And the Bengals put it on. There was another quote that Joe Burrow said. They asked him about the championship window for the Bengals, and he said, as long as he's playing, it's a championship window. And I thought that's great. Of course, I love his confidence, the way he plays. And I think most of you have probably seen it now, but the video of Joe Burrow throwing the ball as he spins, he does a little pirouette thing or whatever. That dude is just the essence of cool, man. I mean, he should, if you are looking for a quarterback, you need to find somebody like Joe Burrow. That dude is fun to watch. But other than that, the Eagles showed the Giants that they really didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. And that's more or less what happened. The Jaguars kicked a late field goal that also screwed me out of a few dollars, but not really that bad. I think that one was just a sushi bet between me and my buddy Scott. And then the other game, 49ers Cowboys. We got to talk about this for a second. And Cowboys fans, I'm sorry. Listen, I know that y'all have been sitting here having to listen to all these other talking heads on television and talk about how bad that last play was. I'm going to be no different. That was absolutely terrible. I don't care if the Cowboys are your team. You're just going to have to deal with the next few minutes of me talking about that because quite a few years ago, I want to say probably 8 to 10 years ago by now, it may not even been that long ago, the Indianapolis Colts went out on the field in a similar setup. And the difference was in that game, in the Colts, they were playing the Patriots. Pat McAfee plays the quarterback in whatever situation this was, and they're not supposed to snap it. I want to say Austin Collie was the guy under center, but that may be, or the center, but that may be wrong. But the Colts actually snapped the ball, and that wound up became a meme. I mean, everybody made fun of that for a while. It was hilarious. The Colts absolutely just fell on their faces with what had to be one of the worst plays of all time. And that's what people called it. I mean, at least for that week. I mean, everybody kind of looked at that play and they thought, my God, what were they thinking? Well, the whole last week, I've been thinking the exact same thing about the Cowboys and whatever that god-awful attempt of a play was on the last play of the game. I told a friend of mine that Ezekiel Elliott is simultaneously the worst and most overpaid center I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's not his fault. I blame McCarthy or whoever the sad moron is that come up with the idea that they should have Ezekiel Elliott blocking on this last play of the game. Now, I'm not really sure what was supposed to happen. That play never really looked like it had a chance of anything important happening. But I want to say he threw it to Turpin basically immediately, and Turpin got hit at the knees. Of course, they don't have a timeout. There's like 9 seconds left. That was it. That was the ball game. For those of you that watched the entire Cowboys game, you watched them kind of goof around on offense all day long, not really get anything done. The 49ers have a great defense, to be fair. But then you get to this last play of the game, and listen, you can make arguments for the short tunnel screen where you get a few blockers out there and you throw a ball to one of your guys, and hopefully he makes it. I've seen the Chiefs do that with Tyreek Hill a few years ago. It worked. I think it was against the Cowboys, and it worked really well. It was a end of half sort of deal. So I've seen that work. You could have just threw it, it gets you some blocking and just absolutely thrown as far as you could have. You could have done the hook and ladder with a bunch of laterals and the Miami Duke thing from a few years ago. There were a lot of different things that the Cowboys could have tried. But whatever it was that everything that they could have done, they ended with that. That's what they decided to go out there. Just like last year, here's the last play of your season. What is the most ridiculous outcome we can think of? And last year it was, hey, let's just run right up the middle of the field with no timeouts, not have enough time to take a timeout, get the team on the field to kick a field goal or stop the clock at all. This year, that was a joke. And not being someone who I don't hate the Cowboys as much as some other people do, but I certainly don't like them as much as other people do. But watching that, and there is a certain disdain I have for Mike McCarthy. I feel like he's a moron and doesn't deserve to have that job any more than I do. But my goodness, Cowboys fans, I think you should be hoping that Jerry Jones fires McCarthy and probably Kellen Moore at this point. Also, you might be starting looking for a new quarterback because Dak Prescott has moments where he's really, really good, and then he has moments where he's really, really bad. And I understand that there are not a lot of great quarterbacks out there, but I don't know if whatever we saw last weekend was worth $40 million for the Cowboys. Just going to put that out there. Now, we're gonna do a little DMA read. Y'all are gonna get to watch the best commercials known to man. And then we're going to come back. We're going to do two more little quick segments. And then we're going to continue with the show. So Casey's Take is brought to you by DMA Orthopedics and Dr. Anthony Tropiano. Dr. Anthony Tropiano provides patients with prompt, effective treatment using the best technology available and in a manner that is compassionate and understanding of their needs. Dr. Tropiano is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. Call 615-441-4522 today. That's 615-441-4522. Commercial.
At Dixon Medical Associates, your health is our number one priority. With over 40 providers, our goal is to bring excellent, convenient, and comprehensive medical care to our community. Dixon Medical Associates, a destination for care.
Now, of course, with last week's results, now we know who is going to play in the playoffs this upcoming week for the NFL. Over in the NFC, which is the early game on Sunday, I believe it's supposed to start about 2. Of course, we know it's Eagles versus 49ers. I'm going to go ahead and let you in on a little secret. I'm pretty sure the 49ers, the Eagles are 2.5-point favorites. I actually took the Niners with an alternate spread and 2.5 points. I know the Eagles are good. I know they're at home, but I think the 49ers are better. But that's the early game. Let's see. The later game, the AFC game, we get a rematch of last year's AFC title game. Chiefs, Bengals. If anybody can beat Mahomes, it's the Bengals. They did it last year. And like I said earlier, I mean, Joe Burrow he's pretty good. So both of those matchups are going to be fun to watch. Like I said, the Eagles, I think Jalen Hurts is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. They obviously have a lot of weapons. The defense is really good. But the 49ers are just a different breed of an animal. Now, here's the thing. If Brock Purdy goes out there and he finally plays like a 7th-round rookie quarterback, the Eagles win this game by 3 touchdowns. But he ain't done that yet. And he's got probably the best supporting cast that you could put around somebody. A really good offensive line, a coach that's usually really, really smart. Shanahan is always great until he has a lead in the Super Bowl. Shanahan's great until the third quarter of the Super Bowl. He's been there a few times now with a lead. He was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta, 28-3. And then, of course, the Super Bowl a few years ago, nobody was going to stop that train that was Mahomes and the rest of that Chiefs offense. I don't really think there was anything he could have done that day. But regardless, the point still stands. Shanahan with the lead in the playoffs, or at least in the Super Bowl, usually doesn't bode well for him. So, but other than that, Shanahan's a great coach. I think he's a really good play caller. He's a really smart guy. He gets these guys lined up, and they're always ready to go. So, like I said, I like Shanahan. But the matchup for me here is the 49ers defense and their ability to get pressure on Jalen Hurts. The Eagles running game is nuts. Miles Sanders has been pretty good. People kind of underestimate how good he's been, but they still have Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott as well. But Jalen Hurts uses his legs, and that's one of the things that makes their offense really explosive. And so I just feel like, man, the Niners defense is different, though. You can't just run around on these guys. They've got one of the best defensive lines in football. Nick Bosa might win Defensive Player of the Year, as good as Micah Parsons has been. Nick Bosa might win that. Fred Warner might be the best middle linebacker in football. I mean, he's insane. You got to watch Fred Warner run around the field. So that makes me think, if the 49ers can get some pressure, they can get into the backfield, make Jalen Hurts a little bit uncomfortable, maybe he doesn't throw for 350 yards. There are a few prop bets to look at, by the way. But I'm taking the 49ers. I'm taking an alternate spread of taking the 49ers and giving 2.5 points. Also, I'm pretty sure I took the under of 47.5 total on that, which seems like a tight number, but I think it'll work. So let's see. And then, of course, Chiefs-Bengals. I said that. So Chiefs-Bengals, I don't really have a whole lot going on for that game. Yeah, I do. I took the Bengals. I took the Bengals. I want to say I took Bengals money line and over like 52.5 or 53.5 points. So you got a few things going on this weekend. We're going to see what happens. I'm just really hoping that the Bengals-Chiefs game is like a high-scoring affair. Even if the Bengals don't win, and I'm not really rooting for anybody because I don't care between the Bengals or the Chiefs, to be fair. I couldn't care less who wins. But I think it'd be fun to watch a really high-scoring game like that Rams-Chiefs game from the regular season a few years ago. That was a really fun game to watch. Both teams were just firing on all cylinders offensively, back and forth. And a lot of people want to say, oh, this is just bad defense. It's not bad defense. Sometimes offense is just great. And, of course, the rules do dictate that, defense can't really play as good as it used to. I mean, you can't really play defense. You can't hit anybody. So, I mean, the rules are obviously made for more scoring. Everybody knows that. The NFL wants people watching their product. I get it. I'm not an idiot. I understand why they're doing that. But the fact that people throw a hissy fit and want to say that that's bad defense. It's not bad defense. At some point, you have to give people credit, like Sean McVay for having an insane offense or Patrick Mahomes for being insanely athletically gifted, whether by God or whatever it is. But Patrick Mahomes has it. He has the ability to put up points, and it is fun to watch. And I hope I get to see that Sunday. I'd love to see Burrow and Mahomes in a straight shootout, just 45-42 type deal. I think that'd be really fun to watch. I think it'd be, especially between two teams that I just don't give a crap about. So, but that's what's coming up this week. I think we're going to see Bengals Niners in the Super Bowl. Of course, we'll talk about that when it gets here. We don't need to do that yet. I've talked about the NFL playoffs for 16 minutes now. So we're going to move on to the third take. Yeah, you're going to see it down there on the bottom, Hall of Fame snub. I'm over the Hall of Fame. This archaic choice of, excuse me, I'm sorry, my nose was bothering me. The way that they vote for stuff is just ridiculous, and it's outdated. You can only vote for so many people. Omar Vizquel has like 4,000 Gold Gloves, and I think he got 19% of the votes. That's crazy to me. Maybe Omar Vizquel doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs, but you're telling me he has to have 75% of the vote to get in, and he got like 19%. That's the number I saw. I may be completely wrong. I may have read the wrong number. Somebody tell me if I am, but I'm pretty sure I read that Omar Vizquel got 19% of the vote to get in the Hall of Fame. And he's one of the best defensive shortstops of all time. How does that happen? Andrew Jones, for every metric that matters to anybody, is one of the best outfielders that's ever played the game. Over 450 home runs for his career. He's got like 13 Gold Gloves. If you're my age and you grew up, I mean, I'm wearing an Atlanta hat now. I'm obviously biased, but if you're my age and you grew up watching TBS Superstation, because you'd get home from school, right, and you'd watch whatever cartoon was on or whatever, and then wrestling was on TBS, and then baseball, and that was it. You either watch WGN and tune in to watch the Cubs get their face smashed in by somebody for the 19th game in a row, or you'd watch TBS and you'd watch a good baseball team, because that's what I had in the 90s. I understand before that they were really bad. I was born in 92. That's not my problem. I got to watch the Atlanta Braves with the greatest pitching staff of all time, and Chipper Jones and Andrew Jones, and I got to see Fred McGriff there at the end, and I saw guys like Andres Galarraga and Vinny Castilla and a million different players. But Andrew Jones that dude was nasty. He's all over the field, making some of the finest plays a center fielder has ever made. I can still hear Skip Carey going, "Eat your heart out, Willie Mays," over a basket catch, and it was a great catch. I mean, I remember that as a kid. And Andrew Jones, like I said, he hit like 50 homers one year. I think he had 52 or 51, led the league. He may have been juicing. I don't know. I mean, I really hope not, but I think everybody was in that time, and Andrew had gotten really big. But they never caught him doing anything. And in a world where legitimately everybody else was caught, and this guy has the defensive metrics, he's got the defensive achievements, he's got great offensive numbers to go with that. Another guy that does a lot for the community was never put on front of the television for something idiotic he had done, like a DUI or beating up his wife. You're talking about a really good guy who's got a great bloodline. His son just got drafted, I think, first overall in the last draft, first or second maybe. But, I mean, Andrew is the epitome of somebody that should be in the Hall of Fame for baseball, and he's not there yet. I think he got like 58% of the vote, which is great because it's up from 46% or whatever last year, so he might be in next year. I just had to complain about that because the voting system is crazy to me, and maybe there's an argument that too many people are getting in the Hall of Fame. Maybe you could say that. I mean, I probably wouldn't argue that point either. But if you sit here, and I don't want to take it from Scott Rowland. I'm not saying that Andrew was better than Scott Rowland. I do believe that, but Scott Rowland was one of the best third baseman of all time. I love Brooks Robinson. I love Chipper Jones. There are other guys that are great third basemen. Don't get me wrong. But even as a Braves fan, I mean, I sat here. I mean, Scott Rowland played for the Cardinals. I hated the Cardinals. He played for the Phillies. I hate the Phillies. Even I'm willing to admit that Scott Rowland absolutely deserves to be in the playoffs. I'm sorry. My nose keeps itching. So it's not like oh well, if he got it, then this guy does. It's not either. We can't make the analogies of this player to this player, or you make all of them, and I don't feel like that's the way to go. So I feel like you kind of just have to look at everybody on their own, and I'm not really sure. It's hard for me to explain what just went through my brain. I know none of that just made sense to y'all, but it's hard for me to explain what I'm thinking. But it's what messes me up is that Andrew Jones 100% deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then let's see, Gary Sheffield, who has over 500 career home runs, he's at 55%. Billy Wagner at 68%. Somebody brought something up about this. Billy Wagner, 68%. Somebody said that they thought that him retiring early may be affecting his Hall of Fame status. I can't argue against that point. But I would really hate that for Billy Wagner if that was the case. You know, like I don't know if he really retired too early anyway. I mean, yeah, he could have stuck around a few more years, but if he had played, done everything he wanted to do, and he wants to go hang out, I'm pretty sure he went and coached his like son's team or something. And I may be completely wrong about that, but I want to say whenever he retired, he went to go coach his like son's team. And I mean, you can't blame the guy for that. But Billy Wagner's at 68%, so you got to think next year he's going to get the nod. And then the second highest finisher that didn't get in, of course, Fred McGriff got in earlier this year, and Roland's going to join him. But the second highest finisher this year, Todd Helton at 72%. And I don't know what else you have to do to get in the Hall of Fame. All that dude did was hit 330 and 35 home runs and knock in 120 runs a year while playing stellar defense at first base. I understand it was in Colorado. Some of those home runs, you can say whatever you want, but the dude still hit like 343 a few seasons, which is insane. But whatever, Todd, sorry you didn't get in. He's basically a slam dunk for next year. At 72.2%, you'd have to say he's almost for sure to get in next year. Andrew's at 58%, Billy Wagner's at 68%. And Gary Sheffield at 55, like I said. You got to think maybe, hopefully, for all of those guys. And, you know, with Wagner, Jones, and Sheffield, you've got three former Braves. Maybe next year will be the year for those guys. You could certainly make the argument for those dudes, but we'll see what happens next year. But Scott Rowland's in. He's with Fred McGriff. But we're going to do one more DMA read. We're going to watch the commercials one more time, and then y'all come back and hang out for the best segment of the day, which is high school sports. So Casey's Take is brought to you by DMA Orthopedics and Dr. Anthony Tropiano. Dr. Anthony Tropiano provides patients with prompt, effective treatment using the best technology available and in a manner that is compassionate and understanding of their needs. Dr. Tropiano is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. Call 615-441-4522 today. That's 615-441-4522.
Here at Dixon Medical Associates, we've got you covered from neck to toe. Our orthopedics team offers services in sports medicine, foot and ankle reconstruction, spinal surgery, and more. We also have in-house imaging and physical therapy. Dixon Medical Associates. We specialize in what moves you.
All right. So last week's show, I actually had to pre-record because we had bowling. We had the state bowling tournament last week, which most of y'all knew about, and I tried to keep a lot of people up to date on. Now, I'll just go ahead and give you a little rundown. In individuals, we had one young lady, Mulaney Blaylock, who just celebrated her birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Mulaney, if you're watching. But she finished 4th in the state individual tournament. Nobody else from Dixon or Creekwood qualified for the stepladder finals. But then in the team event, Dixon County was knocked out in the first round. Creekwood was able to make it through the first 2 rounds. We bowled Hardin County again for the 3rd time for a state title and came up just a little bit short. Our girls bowled their butt off. We had one girl who we thought she had a shoulder issue, but it actually turns out it may have been a neck issue, so that could be pretty bad. And then we had 2 other girls that had messed up thumbs. They had super glue on their hand holding their skin together. You talk about absolute warriors. That's what we had on our team. And this year was really fun, to be around that team, both the boys and the girls. I'm proud of the girls for where they got to, but Creekwood did lose the state finals to Hardin County. Hardin County won their 10th girls state title in a row. They've won 14 out of the last 17. They got monopoly on high school bowling. I got to figure out how to break my way into that. Other than that, we've got a lot of basketball going on. Senior night is tonight up at Dixon County High School for wrestling. Senior night tonight. I know they've got a few girls that are seniors. I'm not sure about the boys. I'm going to see if Marty's going up there and shooting that. I'd love to run the photos of that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And then let's see. The district playoffs are coming up for basketball. I think we've got maybe a week or 2 more of just regular season, and then we're going to get into the district playoffs. We've also got a few things happening out in Cheatham. All of those teams. I was just at the Sycamore Harpeth game Tuesday at Harpeth. Those 2 teams split. It kind of went the way you would have thought it went. The Sycamore ladies that they won running away, and then Harpeth guys they won running away. Which the Sycamore guys are they are struggling, but they got some resilient kids. And man, basketball's a funny sport. It's a tournament sport. If those kids, if they start to get confident and hot around the right time, that's all basketball is. That's all basketball is. And I'm not a coach, and even I know that. But we've got all that coming up. Wrestling's still going. I'm running out of time. One other thing real quick. A buddy of mine, Brent Johnson, come up to me yesterday, and he said he wanted me to bring up an idea for a petition. He's a big Georgia fan. He wants a petition to see if Grayson, I can't say his name right. He wants to start a petition to see if Stetson Bennett can get what he called his 17th year of eligibility. And so I've decided I'm going to bring up this idea for a petition, except I'm not sure if Stetson Bennett is allowed to collect a security check. Social security check. I messed up the joke. I had the whole joke ready to go. I've been thinking the whole time, 29 minutes to do that joke. I messed it up. But Brent, I hope you're watching. Stetson Bennett can go on somewhere else. He needs to go sell hot dogs at a stand or sell insurance to somebody or something. He don't need to play football anymore. He's like 36 years old. He needs to go buy a house and have grandkids, because that's what you do when you're his age. But thank y'all for hanging out with me. I know we're a little bit late today, but had a good time. Almost 30 minutes today. And I talked the entire time. I didn't stop. I know it's got to get annoying for you guys. But follow me on Twitter at CVP51. You want to come argue with me? Tell me about something you want me to talk about? Let me know. But like I said, y'all, thanks for hanging out with me. And we'll see y'all next week.